Welcome to Yaka Digital Network. Today, we are going to bridge the gap between a completely flat two-dimensional drawing and a fully standalone 3D statue. We're going to do this by exploring relief sculpture. A relief sculpture projects outward, but remains firmly attached to a background surface. In large-scale architecture, like Kampala's Independence Monument, artists use relief to carve details directly into the structural columns, telling a physical story without entirely detaching the figures. But relief isn't limited to massive monuments. If you look at a simple everyday object, like a Ugandan coin, you are looking at a bas-relief. Notice how the coffee branches and basket rise slightly above the flat metallic background. In this lesson, you are going to apply these exact principles to build your own relief sculpture. We will use the additive method, meaning we will build up material layer by layer to create a scene titled Life in My Community. Before we begin in the studio, you need a few specific materials. You must have a firm board, some sculpting clay, a simple wooden carving tool, and a strong directional light source. Creating a successful relief sculpture requires you to carefully command physical space. You have to dictate exactly where the material sits, so you can catch light and cast deliberate shadows. Step 1 is to sketch your composition directly onto your work surface. You want to map out a flat 2D outline of your community scene, marking where your background house, your tree, and your foreground person will go. This brings us to a strict requirement. Your work surface must be rigid. You must build on a thick, rigid piece of wood or a heavy slab, rather than a thin, flexible piece of paper. Wet clay is heavy, and as it dries, it pulls inward. If your background is flimsy, it will shrink and warp, which forces the clay above it to crack open and destroy your piece. Starting with a strong foundation ensures the structural integrity of your sculpture will hold up under the weight of the clay you are about to add. We start building with the background elements, like your house and tree. Take small amounts of clay and press thin, flat layers directly into your drawn outlines on the board. By keeping these layers thin, you are creating a bas-relief, or low relief. The material projects only slightly from the background surface. As this cross-section shows, bas-relief requires a specific physical profile. The edges of the clay must slope gently backward to meet the board, without any sharp drop-offs or vertical cliffs. Notice how the light behaves here. Because the slope is gentle, the light hits the surface evenly and slides right over it. There are no dark shadows catching behind the edge. Keeping these background elements physically low and smoothly lit stops them from dominating the viewer's attention, preserving the optical illusion that they are far away. Now, move to your foreground elements, like the person standing in front of the house. Here, you will add thick coils and heavy balls of clay, so the figure pushes aggressively outward toward you. This deep, pronounced projection is called high relief. You use this technique to make your main subjects physically jump out from the background. To make a high-relief figure truly separate from the background, you use a technique called undercutting. This means taking your carving tool and cutting inward underneath a protruding edge, like a chin or an arm. Watch what happens to the light. By carving that inward notch, you create a deep pocket of dark shadow right beneath the figure. That stark contrast tricks the human eye into perceiving the limb as completely detached from the board. Because high relief uses so much material, gravity will sometimes cause it to sag while wet. If a protruding part of your figure starts to droop, push a wire or wooden stick inside it to act as a supportive skeleton, called an armature. By utilizing thick material and deep undercuts, your high relief creates a tactile, distinct foreground that instantly demands attention. Once your forms are built, you need to verify your work using a studio technique called the shadow check. Turn off the overhead lights in your room, take a desk lamp or a flashlight, and shine a single beam of light across your piece from a sharp side angle. Under flat overhead light, your clay can easily look like a 2D drawing with a few random lumps. But when you apply a harsh side light, the true depth is exposed. The side angle reveals exactly where your gentle bas-reliefs sit and where your sharp high reliefs cast strong shadows. Light proves the geometry of your work. By checking your shadows, you can see precisely where to carve deeper to make the narrative clear. You have successfully navigated the additive method, starting from a flat board and building up a distinct, multi-layered community scene. You defined your distant background by keeping the clay low with gentle slopes in Bas-Relief. You then commanded the foreground by stacking thick material and undercutting the edges to create high relief. And by using the additive method, you supported all of these distinct layers by building them directly on a rigid, unyielding base. Relief sculpture requires you to map out flat shapes and then execute them with physical volume. You manage the material so that the light does the hard work for you. Keep experimenting with how different tools and light angles change your work. For more lessons across all subjects and classes, visit us at www.yaka.cc. Keep building.